Professor, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that. All right. So on its way to you, I'm assembling a package so that I can mail these to you guys. But I created a simple black and white version of this study. I'm going to talk a little bit about what exactly it is, so that somehow we want to arrive at a drawing that looks something like this, that we'll be able to mark up to conduct the depth Q exercise with pen and ink, right? So the drawing that I prepared, that I sent to you, and I apologize for switching drawings back and forth. So this is all part of Folio 1. This is all we're doing right now. Depth cues. Right? So this picture, Folio 1. There's a large version of it too. Okay. That's to create those drawings. Now, you don't worry about, there's nothing here you need to remember. I'm just explaining what, you get for illustration purposes. For Folio 2, this is the kitchen drawings. So this is a plan of the kitchen. Folio 2. Section. Does everybody understand what a section drawing is? Right? This is a drawing. This section drawing is cut through at some place through the kitchen. I didn't cut through the window, though. That would probably make a better drawing. And that's the section. Let's call this one AA. Everybody understands how this corresponds to this? Hang on, I'm missing. This is section that you're going to draw. right? And the way we do that is we're going to take the section view of the kitchen that I supplied you and outline it. So we trace this drawing in order to arrive at this. This is Folio 2. If you didn't send me your address, make sure that you send it to me so that I can send you these. Of course, the drawings are in my handouts in Blackboard as well, so you can print them out. You don't have to print at these are 11 by 17, but you can print on letter size paper, right? And then for Folio 3, we're going to study axonometric drawing. And if we have time, so axonometric drawings that we're going to make. Anybody wants to try any of these things, I like to tell you about them in advance because some people like to jump ahead and check things out. But let's say I was looking at this part of the kitchen, and then the range, another cabinet, the corner. That's the kind of drawing and because we know what happens to ellipses on the surface, right? So I'm going from here to here. There isn't a fit. These are about 1 inch. These are a little bit smaller, so we can do that. But that doesn't come till later. So this is Folio 3. We left off before. We worked with this drawing that had a lot more columns in it, right? And several of you had some success with this. I think you're going to have an easier time with this drawing, tracing this drawing. Then I created an excerpt showing the geometry that I traced over in an Illustrator file, right? How many people were able to print the black and white version of this? Can I, let me get a show of hands.
I was only able to print this one. That one didn't let me print it.
The other, okay, but that one's got the geometry in it, right?
Yeah, I only have the one with the actual columns.
Okay, so I'm gonna send these to you. We're gonna mail them probably today or tomorrow, so you'll have them for next week. I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. So you were able, I'm sorry, I forgot you. You're able to print this one. Okay, so there are, you have several ways of getting to the base drawing that we need. And I think what I'm going to do, this is the one I did for you last time. Remember, I told you last class that I was going to repeat this, so you didn't have to worry if you didn't follow along.
So Sandra, are we
Yeah.
just changing the reference picture from, I guess, the old one to this newer one?
I think you're going to have an easier time with this one, yes. The reason being is that with too many columns in there, there isn't enough space in between to get a good drawing. Let me pull up an example of student work. Incidentally, I mentioned in the email that I sent, and I copied the instructor who teaches a portfolio class, this becomes a highly coveted part of the student portfolio. These are very strong drawings. When people go to interview for work, they like to see the versions of these that were done by hand because it shows that you have some kind of sensibility. Guess I have to log into the network. So basically what we'll do this class is get started on the second drawing. And then I know Anna has been at a disadvantage for the afternoon class, so I'll probably spend some time. You may have questions for me on how to proceed with this work. So let me share a different screen. So in my handouts, I don't know if I put it in. I didn't put in sample student work, so I'll have to. I'm not going to open all of them, but I'll show a typical, some work that I thought was well done. So these are drawing studies that you'll do of different parts of the drawing, right? So you're going to focus in on little aspects of what you see in that picture. And this is one example of ink on white paper. The previous was pencil. This is ink. You do a different kind of mark. So we have 3 drawings in ink. 1, 2, 3. This is a colored pencil. Everybody has a hand at the pointillist, right? That is one way of going about that. Let me find maybe a couple of others. That's scribbles, and that's on the black and white pencil on toned paper. So there's only a couple drawings there. Two drawings, right? Okay, back to my sloppy desktop. There's a bunch of ways to deal with this. I mean, I'm sorry you had trouble printing this. One thing we could do and I'm going to work with a dark pen so you can see what I'm doing, is to start to create the drawing based on what we understand about the geometry, right? So we have that space and back. We kind of understand where that door is. There's a frame around it. We have a visual explanation of what's happening at each one of those arches. So I didn't record every capital. I have part of it here. Right? My columns at the back, there's a column here. And then here we're drawing those ellipses. The ellipses the other way. I've outlined what happens to the cross vault, the arch, the cross vaults inside. Cross vault. That's a vaulted ceiling, right? That they're arches that go crosswise. So if you've done that, you really have most of the drawing. Then if you wanted to continue with any of this stuff, but you don't have to include everything else. There's some other stuff that's going on back here that converges to those lines. I could go to the back of both of these. Then to transfer to paper, I need to sharpen these. Wait, there's one. The softer the lead, the easier this will be. You can see the drawing you made behind it. Doesn't need to be perfect. But you want to get enough of the drawing so that you can create your pen drawing. Now, I would cut a piece of paper that's about the size of what you're going to do, right? If you don't want to use high quality paper, don't worry about it. But what happens invariably is that if you do a really good job, you wish you used better paper than you showed. So now we need to, in order to transfer that mark, I'm going to take a different pen. Maybe a ballpoint would be easier. Let me see if I have one. This one has my company name on it. Sometimes these people, they send you pens with your name. Oh, but they put the wrong phone number, so you can't really give it to somebody and say, here, I'm really important. Here's a pen with my company name and phone number. Oh, well. You may want to tape these down. drafting docs. Let me see if I have- These are helpful. Just sort of anchor that down. Right? So the where'd it go? Not a very good pen. Stop writing. Another thing you can do, I found a 7B pencil. Stupid things like that make me so happy. 7B. That's much heavier. Heavy. If you use a red pen, if you have one, you can see where you've been. Of course, you need one that writes. This one doesn't write. Let's see. If you make a mistake, who cares? We're not trying to land somebody on the moon. We're just creating a framework for this ink study that we're going to do. Once I feel that we've got enough, you could also take a straight edge to the part. I know I showed you a different one before, but if you wanted to draw the edges of the, or a line that guides, you know, where those columns are, where those capitals are. What I didn't transfer into these drawings is the lanterns that are hanging there. And what I would do is examine this drawing for where they sit with respect to the geometry, right? So you can see exactly where that lantern is. The next one falls from there. It's over here somewhere. See how I'm using the perspective, the geometry? I know you can't see it here. If you have it up on your computer monitor, it'll be much easier. Then having drawn those, I can place them approximately in that space. If you decide to work with a hatch pattern, try to be consistent with the mark that you choose to make. And you want to vary it with the shapes that you see. Remember, depth Q. Depth Q means you're providing a hint as to the enclosure, the sense, the perception of depth in this drawing. It isn't going to be apparent with your first few marks. And you're not going to know where you're going with it. This is not a drawing that you can plan. But notice I'm trying to maintain the same kind of mark. And I have surfaces within surfaces. As you start to develop this, you may find there's things you wish to add that are in this drawing. You say, maybe I could might have some way of dealing with that. I'm not quite sure what I want to happen in there. Now, the drawing, try to avoid, by the way, there's always a temptation to take the pen and outline the things you've already drawn. You want to avoid that. You're just using this as a scaffold for the drawing. You will discover happy little accidents that somehow you get an unanticipated shape. You say, wow, that doesn't look too bad. Now I'm cheating a little bit. I'm varying the mark. So I switched here to something different. You guys want to stick to one mark per drawing. If it's going to be a scribble, let it be a scribble. You really don't know what's going to happen until you get there. And that's the beauty of this kind of drawing. See how changing the mark creates the illusion of depth. Illusion of. Anna, do you want to show me where you're at, and I could get a sense of anything else I need to provide for you to move this along? We started very slowly, so you really haven't missed anything yet.
Okay. Yeah, I looked the video already. So
Yeah.
So like
You want to show me what you have? You guys want to remind me how do I do this? What I go to Anna's screen and I feature split feature. I forget how to do this.
You click
Oh,
sharing.
pin.
And yeah.
Where did I pin it? Oh, I have to unshare what I'm sharing. Wait. Stop share. And pin. Spotlight. Okay. Can you put it up on your screen or?
You see, is this? You can see it. I think it's a little.
Oh,
bit.
that's pretty good. The image. You guys are so resourceful with your devices. That is a very strong image. I think you can use that. And now you want to draw the circle at the top of the door, because I think that helps. But that's a very good start, right? You were able to transfer that with the pencil, tracing over with pencil in the back. Very good.
So right now I just do the outline first, then use the pen to do the shadow and some light, right?
That's right. I'm reluctant to call it shadow because let me stop. Let me remove the spotlight. I think that's what I'm doing. Share. Okay. I'm not calling this shadow because even though we know that it's lighter out here than in here, I'm really not using the light to cast a shadow. Anna, it's actually easier than that. I'm creating the illusion of depth by varying the mark. So the type of mark that I make, let me see if I can explain it. If I wanted to do this with a cube, I might do something like this. So I'm just changing the mark. This is one mark. This is two. Right? And here, in this case, it's just a scribble. They're not all going to be successful, right? What happens with these drawings is some parts of them work out better than others often, but every subsequent drawing that you do comes out better. So if I were to continue in here, I know there's a lamp in there somewhere. And then the areas under the vault are all slightly different, right? But I'm trying to maintain a similar mark. There are some lines that represent, because this is stone, these are stone walls. So, you know, the walls are kind of composed of these massive, you can see it in there that it's sort of made up. So maybe it's okay to add that to part of your drawing. These get, I don't know how much of that you want to approach. See, as you start to populate the drawing, the other parts of it begin to reveal themselves to you. But you see how I went from this to that, to the backdrop of for this. Second. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Everything is a response to a mark you made just before. If I wanted to go back in, say, and add the windows, the way I do it with the original drawing is figure out where they're placed. Can't see anything I'm doing here, but right? And that might be something that you want to draw into. So it isn't about shadow, but there is an observation about what's lighter and darker than something else. So it's okay to make that interpretation. You have to be really careful where edges, where things meet. Sometimes you got to start by the edge of the column. Suppose I could add so I'm just kind of guessing at what's going on with the stone courses beyond. Do you see how the mark is creating the illusion of depth? You're not trying to reproduce. You're not trying to reproduce what you see. You're trying to create an illusion. You're creating a work of fiction. When you design interiors, this is, you want to bring people into this world that you're making. I do buildings, facades of buildings. So this morning I'm working on something. These are just some lines. We work in pen and ink, and I think I show you guys it kind of take. So I will do this kind of study, right? That again, it's a gimmick. I'm creating that illusion. This time I'm just using pen marks with a marker on top of it. But the building itself, well, there's plenty of there. We have plenty of time to work with digital. That's what I'm drawing, and this is what I have to fix. See how boring that is? But in order to address that, we have to draw a bunch of lines on top of that. And decide, you know, well, this wants to be 3 wide. That wants to be 2 wide, 2 wide, 3 wide. But it starts with drawings like this. So we're going to continue working with this and experimenting with this. Let's take a bit of a break and meet up again at about noon, okay? I'll leave that on the monitor there. if anybody at any point wishes to share something, I want you to feel comfortable working. So I don't like to interfere with it as long as you, but if you feel that you're, for some reason, that your grasp of what we're trying to do is somewhat troubled, don't hesitate to let me know that, and you know, show me something that you might be stuck on if you need me to explain it. It's not really difficult. It can be strangely satisfying once you get the hang of it. Obviously, I've left a lot here undone, but at the same time, don't feel compelled that you have to draw everything you see in the drawing. I'm exaggerating the ellipses just so that I can, again, it's a work of, it's your work of fiction. Work of fiction by you. See how light the underlying drawing is, so it doesn't interfere with your marks. All you need is just a guide, set of guideposts. Well, you start to discover is what kind of control you can affect by simply repeating that mark. Maintaining the same consistency to the extent that you can. And just modulating the intensity of it. But it's that same pattern. It's basically, that's what I'm doing here. If you become bored with it, start another one. Perfectly all right, right? To go to another drawing. Generally, you find that you learn a lot from having done this one, or however you went about. Keep in mind, I started with a very coarse, meaning COA coarse, as opposed to fine. There's a lot of contrast in the base drawing that I created here, right? So that left me to do a lot more work here. You're also free, because you're going to get a ton of these. You're also free to work with the back of the image, though I find it a little bit harder to do that without being able to see in the background. So sometimes you may want to do something like draw over the page, and then it shows through. That's not very good. Let's see. Drawing directly on the image gives you a little bit more background. And if you really trust yourself, you know, every year a student comes up with a way of doing this that I didn't think of. So feel free to experiment. Let's say I wanted to draw just around that column. That's where I think I'm drawing. Okay. Let me take my That's okay. Then I might want to do the idea of a cross hatch. This is what's called hatcher. There's different patterns. That we use in our business, the business of designing stuff. You come up with a mark that you like. Here I'm going somewhere different. I'm changing directions here. I'm all over the place. The scale at which you're working makes a difference too. Some marks work for a close-up drawing better than they do at a distance. In other words, I may want to amplify and this is something you may wish to do as part of your studies, right? If I drew the whole thing in perspective, I would have something like that. Now that we know how to draw ellipses, this stuff doesn't frighten us. In fact, it takes a long time sometimes to get any kind of result. For what it's worth, that mark, I'm not overlap. There's no overlap. There is some overlap, but these are the things you can vary. Overlap. This becomes different if I do something like that. Right? If I decide I'm going to explore that, I'm drawing on top of something I've already made. Make sure you change directions. How far apart the marks are make a difference as well, right? I've lost control of that. See if I can reclaim it. So I know what happens to that, because I know what happens to the ellipse. I know where I'm drawing, right? Because you guys studied this in perspective. That ellipse is slightly slanted. That's why in this drawing, all the ellipses you see, including the ones that if there were a full circle, if it were a great big circular hole, that ellipse would describe it, but we're just using the top half. An understanding of that geometry is informing your drawing. It tells you where to draw, right? It's helping identify what the boundaries of the drawing, for better or for worse. I'm not doing a terribly good job with this, but I know, where I need to be going with it, because I understand that shape is essentially that. The ellipses I'm responding to end or overlapping there. This looks like a pile of clay more than it does any kind of, but you can fix that.
Could I show you mine really quick?
Yes, please.
I don't know if you can tell, but
Beautiful. Yeah, yeah. So the mark is a very, very tight point. Yeah.
I don't know if you can see all the dots, but it's like the dot one.
Yes, I can see the dots. And now keep in mind that, let's bring that up again. Let me see, bring up your drawing again. Let me see if I can do something. Hold it right there. Okay, let me see if I can print that screen. Okay, let me. Okay, I'm going to share a screen now. The print screen feature is wonderful. So now you're looking at me in Photoshop and a picture of all of you guys. So when you're doing a depth cue, it's important to be consistent. This is a wonderfully sensitive modulation of that mark. But do you see how we have conflicting cues? We're going from dark on the inside. If I look below, let me see if I can find the drawing instrument.
I think I can see how I like made the marks underneath. They're supposed to be lighter than darker.
Yeah, see, when you're in here, you're going from light to dark in this direction. And up here, you've done the reverse. And I think you're going from light to dark in that direction. So do you see the conflict? You want to avoid both ways. If you decide that you're going to go from light to dark toward the inside, then take that mark and vary it the same way. However, it's still a beautiful drawing. Okay, here's the thing. You're going to find happy accidents. Somebody's going to look at that and say, wow, I don't know I don't know or care what's wrong with it, because it's creating an illusion. You're still creating an illusion of depth, but it would be that much more compelling if you try to maintain that, and that reveals itself as you start to finish the drawing. So is there something else you wanted to show me? Does that help?
Yeah, that helps. Should I keep
Okay.
going and try and make like underneath a lot darker?
Oh yeah, I would not abandon that drawing.
Okay.
I would complete it and see what you learned from it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Can I show you mine?
Yes, please.
So I've never done like the shading with lines and stuff before, so it's kind of new for me, but I just wanted to like,
It's excellent that it's new for you and you went ahead and did it anyways. What I would do when you do a drawing like that, you see the extra line that you made that creates the arches? You want to avoid that. You want to suggest a change in value
okay,
without outlining that boundary between the cross vaults. But I think you've
okay.
done it's exciting to discover that you can actually control a mark you never made before. That's the whole point to this exercise. Very good. Well done,
Yeah,
Skylar.
I was gonna ask you for the columns, when you like, did you outline those before and then like shade them in, or how did you do yours?
I only outlined one side that I knew that I was going to make dark. So the part on the inside, if that's the direction you decide to go, just give yourself, and again, very, very lightly, a mark there.
Okay,
Yep,
thank you.
yep.
Can I show my work?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, sir. Good. It's because of the resolution, it's kind of hard to tell where the mark is, but it looks like it's some kind of scribble, some kind of irregular scribble. Is that right, Anna?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, you wanna continue it, and we got to decide. I think it's working nicely from light to dark to the inside. Now, because you've outlined the very back, I think you're obligated to deal with that. So yeah, we have to figure out what that back door. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen now.
Okay.
because you started drawing in here, and you started drawing all this stuff over here, that means you're going to have to deal with that area. Do you see what I'm saying? All of this part of the drawing, you want to figure out how you're going to do the same. Does that help?
Yeah.
Know what I mean? Yeah, but I think you're off to a good start. And I you know, that's going to be naturally. So you really want to make the back wall there drop backwards into the drawing.
Okay.
Any time that you guys wish to, if you want feedback on something you're doing when we're not in class, feel free to write me or email me or send me a copy of what it is that you're working on. And I'm happy to mark that up as, you know, it's kind of new to us to, okay, so how do I stop this? Because we've never done this class in an online environment, I'm used to doing this with your drawings in front of me. So if there's something in particular you want me to look at, if you send me a copy of your drawing, I can work with it at a higher level of resolution, right? And then give you advice or feedback on that kind of thing. Remember, we want 3 different drawings, 3 different ink patterns. Pattern, mark, device. After what you're going to find from these drawings, what I hope you will learn, you will discover a mark that you will make your own and that you'll use it. And with time permitting, if we can, for some extra exercises, you guys, what I've done with pictures is stuff you can do with any photograph, right? Or any drawing or particular space, view, perspective that you want to study. Anybody else before we quit for this afternoon?
Could you look at
Greta.
my,
Yeah, sure.
I'm stippling.
You're stippling.
Yeah.
Great. Do you see how effective, you see how you're getting a sense of what is inside, what is the enclosed part of the space,
Mm-hmm.
and what is beyond?
Yeah.
And Now the challenge is going to be, how do you bring it to the next column and to the back of the drawing? But I think that mark works very well for you right now. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would continue with that. Yes. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I show you mine?
Yes, please.
I did like a scribble.
I don't know how to get out of the Greta pin. What do I do? Oh, remove spotlight. Okay. Molly, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh boy. That looks like it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I highly recommend everybody trying the scribble because it first of all, it encourages you to be careless because it's very difficult to control that particular mark. But you start to discover after a while, especially if you can draw into the cross vaults, that you really get a sense that you can create that illusion of depth, and that's what the point of the thing is. So I'm going to say that works very well. That you there's a little bit of work that you want to do, maybe into, only because you've completed so much of it, into those cross vaults, the column that's closest to me, just those vaults that connected to that first hanging lantern, and that, and then I think it's well on its way though. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Okay, I have a note from someone that wants to speak to me, so I'm going to try to do, let me see. Breakout room, assign manually. I'm going to create a breakout room. Let's see if this works. Emily? Okay. Emily, I've invited you to join my breakout room.